Yeah, so when it comes to parenting, I think the first principle that the Puritans teach us is that every child is a gift of God. The idea that, oh no, I'm pregnant again. I've never found it any Puritan. It's God opening the womb, you know? And so, you know, they didn't sit down and say, hey, boy, what can we do about this? How can we handle this? No, they just said, this is a blessing from God. We're going to cherish this child. So for them, it was a wonderful thing. It wasn't that they had absolutely as many kids as they possibly could have, as some people say, because they had an average of 8 or 9 kids. No, the husband would sit down with his wife and say, no, it's been a year since you've had a baby, and I know it takes a long time to get, do you feel your body's strong enough to sustain another child? If the Lord would open the womb again? Wife might say, oh, can we wait a few more months? I think they'd do something like that. But they would never sit down and say, how many kids do you want? 5? Oh, I want 3. Well, let's go for 4. Oh, it'd be blasphemy to a Puritan, because every child is a gift of God. It's not what you want. It's what you're to multiply and fill the earth and receive what God gives you. So children were a great blessing from God to them. And then they were to be raised pervasively by the Scripture. I mean, the first educational book published in America was that ABC, the New England Primer, and teaching the children the alphabet. How did they teach the word A, the letter A? In Adam's fall, we sinned all. All the way to Z. How did they teach Z? Zacchaeus, he went up a tree to see. It was all biblical. In fact, they actually said the reason why we have education is to teach children how to read the Bible. So everything is just so biblical. And that applies to their catechization at home, and applies to their family worship. For them, this was just natural. It applies to their discipline. They have a lot of wisdom in disciplining their children. And it applies to their involvement. They were really felt responsible to raise their children in every area of life, according to the Bible. So they'd be extremely involved in who their children would court. You wouldn't think of courting anyone that your father and your mother didn't fully approve of if you were a teenager. Parents were very involved in the selection of the occupation of their child. So, as a God-fearing young man, you would go to your parents and say, Mom, Dad, you know me. What do you think? What can you see me best doing with my sets of gifts? And that type of thing. They'd involve their brothers and sisters even. You know? Today it's like a young person decides who he wants to date. That'd be unthinkable in a Puritan mind. Now, if the father came to the son and said, Son, I've been watching this young lady in church. She's very godly. I think she'd make a good spouse. Would you pray about that? And the son would respectfully say, Yes, Father, I'll pray about it. If the son came back and said 2 weeks later, Father, I prayed about it. I'm not the least bit interested in this girl. I need to be honest with you. The father would let it go. Respect his son. But the father and the mother were involved in everything, you see. These were family decisions, because the Puritans were wise enough to know you married into a family. You didn't just marry the individual. And I think when it comes to marriage, the crowning thing that struck me when I read all these Puritan books on marriage was that the big mistake we make today, even in Christian circles, is you care about how your wife treats you. Puritans would say, no, that's not your business. I mean, unless she's terribly abusive. That's not your business. Your business is to treat her like Christ treats the church. You stay in your own territory, man. And you stay in your own territory, woman. You each do your own job. But we're so selfish. I wish she'd treat me better. I wish, people say. I started thinking back after I read that first in William Gouge's book that, it's not your business. I started thinking back, have I ever counseled a married couple where at least one of the two didn't have complaints about the other one? I don't think I ever had it. But in the Puritan mind, see, that's, I think, one reason why they had so much fewer troubles in marriage, not because they didn't think their partner had any faults, but because that just wasn't a territory for conversation so much, because unless there was sin involved. Because, no, I'm to focus on me. How can I respect my husband? How can I love my wife? That type of thing.